Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs delivered another classic, but it's unfortunate it wasn't in the Kansas City Chiefs result as they fell 24-20 to the Buffalo Bills. But before I dive into any of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, can't really say let's have some fun, but let's get right into this. Now honestly, this is a very weird game because even watching Chiefs social media and all that, it's like a lot of fans were very, I don't want to say complacent, but very comfortable. I struggled on comfortable. See, it's going to be that type of day. But they were very comfortable if the Kansas City Chiefs lost because they knew what kind of Buffalo Bills team this is. And I don't want to say I was there because I wasn't. Like, any loss sucks for me. I've watched this team my whole life. I watched them and supported them on 2 and 14 years and thought they would win every game. So for me to say, oh, this loss doesn't hurt as much as like the Colts and stuff like that, it does because it was a battle. It went down to the wire, and it was a game they could have easily won, but unfortunately it went the other way. Now I am a glass half full type of guy, kind of like last year too, where it's like, hey, let the Bills have this one. We will beat them in the playoffs. And I was right last year, and I'm hoping to be right again this year. And honestly, I kind of want it more sweetened. Not to say, and I know I mentioned it in my previous video too, that this like clinches home field advantage, because it doesn't. It does give the Buffalo Bills one game ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs. But their division even looks difficult this year, as I mentioned too, with Miami. Yeah, they're inconsistent right now, but once they get Tua back, they might get things rolling again. The Jets' defense is legit. They held Aaron Rodgers, even though he doesn't look the same without Devontae Adams. They look like the real deal. And the Patriots, well, they did their thing against the Browns, but I think they still the Patriots, and we don't know how they'll look going back with Mac Jones. But the Buffalo Bills will definitely lose another game, if not a couple too. And that'll be the same with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just, it sucks when your team is on the losing end on it, specifically against a pro caliber team like the Buffalo Bills. And so I wasn't there being like, oh, this doesn't hurt, because it does. Like, I hate losing, but I get where people are coming from too, where it's like, hey, well, we weren't supposed to be in this game. And honestly, I get where you're coming from with all the injuries on the defensive side of the ball and everything you're trying to point out. But at the end of the day, this is a Super Bowl caliber team. They're supposed to be in every game. So I wasn't expecting the Chiefs to get blown out either. Now, we're going to go straight to the elephant in the room, and it's this offense. Like, it was very inconsistent. And you're not going to win every single snap against this Buffalo Bills defense. They have the number one scoring defense, so they're going to get theirs. You're going to have yours. But the most part I want to focus on is in the fourth quarter when the Chiefs did not only have one, but 2 times to seal this game, and they didn't. They blew it. Like, you could have either got field goals or touchdowns, and it would have made it much harder for the Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to win this game, and they couldn't do it. And then Mahomes, he ended up throwing an unfortunate pick. And that's the thing where I talk about with Mahomes too. It's going to sound like criticism, and it could, but it shouldn't, is when Mahomes plays hero ball, and that's where I get kind of scared in these final 2 minutes to a minute, because he has proven he can be magnificent, and he can win these games too. And he also proves he puts too much on his shoulders, and he'll throw that interception. We have seen both sides of the ball with that. And I just had a feeling that's how it was going to go in this game, and nonetheless, it happened. And like I mentioned, the Chiefs, they left points on the board, unfortunately, in this game with the first interception from Mahomes, too, which is like, what are you doing here? A lot of me, this is how much I support Mahomes, and I think Chiefs Kingdom, too. A lot of me wanted to put all of that on MVS, but it's just, that's on a third down. That's a ball that should not be thrown. If not, put it to where he could only catch it, and maybe he thought he did, and Elam, he did make a hell of a play on the ball. But at the end of the day, you got to make sure MVS makes that catch or nobody does. And when I kept looking, I was like, oh, MVS, why did you just let that bounce out and go into Elam's hands? But that really wasn't the case as much as I want to put it on him. It was a ball Mahomes shouldn't have thrown. That at least could have left a touchdown off the board for sure, but a field goal, and then Bucker too. I called that as well. I was like, watch, we're saying chip shot, 51-yard field goal after he drills a magnificent 62-yard field goal, which was beautiful. Like, welcome back, Harrison Bucker. You are a difference maker. But with the 51-yard field goal, I just saw like, watch him miss this. Like, and it's been known through Harrison Butker's career too. Is like he will drill the lights out of a 70-yard field goal, and then he will miss an extra point. And we're just like, what are we doing here? And I just had that feeling, and sure enough, it's what happened. So you're leaving a total of maybe 10 points on the board there. Let's say 6 at the most, which could have changed the game. 26-24 final score too. Now the Bills could say the same thing as well too. Honestly, this defense is crazy. Like, it could be crazy good and it could be crazy bad. Like, and again, that has a lot to do with scheming and play calling as well. Like, the 2 long touchdowns that were given up, one for Davis and then one for Diggs, both burning Williams. It's just like, why do we continue to put these young cornerbacks in position where they're gonna fail? Like, come on. I get the zone coverage, and then when you blitz, you do man coverage and things like that, but definitely in this type of game, don't do that. We could have easily took one of those touchdowns off the board and things like that and see what happens too. And then I know a lot of people love this defense, the bend but don't break defense. That shit gets to my soul. Like, it bothers me so much. I love the bend and don't break, but what happens when it bends and then completely breaks? Like, what happens? Like, I just have a feeling one of these games is just going to unravel. And that's why I want to see some switch-ups and things like that, because Spag's defense is so predictable. You know when he's going to stay in man, you know when he's going to stay in zone, and you know when a cornerback blitz is coming, and you know when he's blitzing the house. We need to switch it up here and there, because you can tell Josh Allen was dicing up the field. And yes, not every quarterback is like Josh Allen. You could probably only put him and Mahomes in a class of their own. But at the end of the day, when quarterbacks are like that, you need to find a way to stop them. And that's why in this type of game, I don't like a bend and don't break, which it worked. But when you kind of switch the rotation, now you're blitzing, which it worked on, let's say, the drive before the 98-yard touchdown, and then it worked at the beginning of that drive, and then it was 3rd and 13, and then once they got the first completion, they started coming, and then it was a touchdown. It's like, let's have a quick, get together powwow and change things up. And it just doesn't happen, unfortunately. And another thing with this defense that bothers me too, and maybe it shouldn't bother me, but it's something I focus on a lot. It's like, we don't get turnovers. Like, come on. And it's just ridiculous in my eyes. We did have the one fumble or whatever, pitch back or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, that was more of a Josh Allen mistake, if anything. Like, if he hit McKenzie, it would have been a tackle for a loss, and that wouldn't have been a turnover. But I love to see more interceptions on this defense. And maybe that'll change once Trent McDuffie comes back next week and Willie Gay comes back. Not saying they're going to get turnover-worthy plays, but it's going to close certain sides of the fields where maybe these other guys can make plays. I don't know. And that's another thing that can keep your hopes very high on this too, is we were missing 3 starters on the defense, and they still held the Buffalo Bills to the 24 points. We were missing McDuffie, Willie Gay, of course, and then I know a lot of y'all ain't Rashad Fenton fans, neither am I, but it's depth in the cornerback room, and he might have got burnt like crazy too, but it's veteran experience nonetheless, and the Bills are still only capable of scoring 24 points, but defensively it was very inconsistent. Like, I saw very, very solid playmaking, and then I just saw, what the hell are we doing here? Like, I just want to see more consistency on the defensive side of the ball, but again, just the same as with the Bills defense, the Bills offense, you're not going to stop them 100% of the time either. But I think Kansas City shot their foot more than the Bills got us, definitely on the plays where Davis scored a touchdown and Diggs scored a touchdown. I'm not saying they're not great players, because they are. But if you would have brought a safety over the top, maybe made Allen think about it a little more, then that would have been fun, and that might not have been a completion. Who knows? We'll have to see another day. And also, too, I know Kansas City has the most pressures in the league, but pressures don't mean much to me. I mean, they do, but they don't. Because I'm getting to a point, it's like we have a lot of pressures, but the sacks aren't tallying up anymore. Like, how many sacks did we get this game? None, I think. Maybe 1. Well, 2 actually, because Chris Jones' trip, which he finally got a foul that wasn't called on him, and I think Frank Clark had 1 too. But we're not accumulating sacks. What we're doing is just getting pressures. And if you're not bringing guys down and they can still extend plays and make a play, then what's the use of a pressure? Just like what's starting to concern me a lot too, which was a strength, and it wasn't in previous years, and now we're starting to see it come back to reality, is what happened to this rush defense? Like, Devin Singletary is not even one of the great backs. He can be a good back, and I gave Josh Jacobs a pass because I ran him a lot, and Josh Jacobs has been doing good. But now Singletary is doing their thing, and he went off. And now you have San Fran next week, who is strictly a running team and throws to the tight end, which could be a very scary matchup if you do not know how to stop the run whatsoever. That's why I was kind of surprised because I was buying into this rush defense. I really was, because in the first 4 weeks, they did their thing, and maybe a lot of teams weren't running on them. Some more, but they were good name running backs that you could focus on, and Kansas City was shutting them down. And now you're not shutting them down in the run game, and you're struggling in coverage, and yeah, you're giving that bend and don't break. But when you're not succeeding in either or, that's where it makes me tend to believe that bend will break eventually. So I know things will change with the lights of a Willie Gay and Trent McDuffie coming back, so that is high positive too. And there was good plays throughout the game on the defense side of the ball where I was stoked to see Clark look good. I love seeing Clark. He's a very good speed rusher, and he had really good plays out there. Williams came in a nice blitz set. Didn't get him, but caused a pressure. Chris Jones, he had that trip sack, but he looked good with it. I know. Shouldn't really be complimenting on something that's a foul, but hey, here we are. It happens. Some coverages really held to their own, too. I loved the way Justin Reed played today, and I think it's how he plays regardless throughout the season, but he is a physical heavy hitter. That's what they wanted to bring besides someone replacing Tyrann Mathieu. They wanted to bring someone who would actually tackle and hit players. Same with Thornhill too. He had a crucial, personal foul, and then I think that next play, next couple plays, he laid the wood and almost, I think, made an interception, not made an interception, but made a play to where it was incomplete in the end zone. So again, it's that bend but don't break. It makes my heart hurt a lot watching it because you never know what's going to happen. I even tweeted it too. It's like, I hate Kansas City games. Like, I really do. Like, of course, I will watch them. I love watching them, and you will have me tuned in for the full 3 hours. But why does every game have to be a game? Why do we got to be there in the final 2 minutes wondering if we're going to win or lose the game? It really, really irks my soul. Like, can we just blow someone out? Like, come on. I know we can, but it's like, 9 times out of 10, it seems like we are in a ball game, and I just don't think that's good for my health. But hey, here we are. This is the team I was born with. That's what we're going to be running with. But also, too, on more positive notes, and there is a lot of positive notes in this loss, too, because Kansas City was basically decimated with injuries. Same with Buffalo, too. They are missing key players. But at the end of the day, Kansas City will be getting a lot more back, and if they can continue to stay healthy, which after this game, there were no new injuries to be reported, which is very, very good when the likes of a Willie Gay and Trent McDuffie coming back. But I do want to focus on this offensive side of the ball because Bills' defense is good. Mahomes did play inconsistent. Mahomes made some great passes, too. Kelsey started turning it up. I think he had 8 catches for 108 yards. One of my predictions came true that I mentioned in my previous video was I knew these receivers were going to go off, and I knew one of them would have over 100 yards. And Juju, welcome to Arrowhead, got his first touchdown, over 100 yards. I told you, these wide receivers, it takes time. Be patient with them. They're going to start gelling and meshing and looking really, really good with Mahomes. And I think Juju looks really great, and I love to see him in the future with us. And I just think he's going to get better and better. A great physical possession wide receiver. I saw a lot of y'all tweets, too, saying, oh, if that was Hill, it would have been a touchdown. Very true. But again, nonetheless, he still looked very, very good. And he's going to be a great possession receiver for this team. If he can get 6 to 8 catches a game, and then you get Kelsey already getting 6 to 8 catches a game, they're going to be very, very solid. McCole Hardman has also been very, very impressive to me. Nothing crazy this game, but he's making good plays. I think this is another positive performance against the Bills, specifically against the hard defense, and he looked very good as well. And then another guy I was excited to see who had a very, very good catch is Sky Moore. I think he had a good, impressive 25-yard catch. Let's get him into the system more and more. I will keep preaching it. I want to see this kid play. I think he can be easily your number 2 wide receiver, and I think he's going to be someone who's going to be fun to watch in this offense moving forward. As for the running game, it wasn't really that great today. Like, CEH had a couple good runs, but again, it's CEH. You're going to have good runs, then you're going to have your bad runs, but nothing against him whatsoever because there was runs he was bulldozing through. I love his effort. I just wish it was more of consistency with him as well. Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco, they saw the field, but I don't think they got as many carries as CEH. Pacheco had some good carries as well, but again, he didn't have anything really too much to brag about. Special teams-wise, I would say I don't know if Pacheco is made to be our returner. We'll just have to wait and see. That's another thing. Like I mentioned, field position would be a main thing in this game too. And Pacheco, I don't think he really got it to the 25-yard line unless it was a touchback. Every return seems like with him is to the 15 or the 20-yard line. I think we need to have a switch up there, or Dave Tobin needs to get in his ear and be like, hey, look at your blocks, take different angles, run straight forward, do what you need to do to be a better returner, and let's get progression. I know he's a rookie. I know it'll take time, but we're going to start getting into November when these games start like really, really mattering. So special team is going to be a key issue. We've been preaching that with Bucker being out. Special teams probably already lost us the game. We can't lose more to it as well. What was surprising too, and I was thinking about it when I was watching the game, was because when Hardeman returned the punt one, when he basically kind of muffed it, but then he had a good 20-yard return. But I was like, oh, Moore's not out there? And I was like, oh, maybe they're going to have more in the offense. And that didn't happen, but I was like, maybe they're doing that quick rotation. I like seeing Hardeman returning punts, but he also gives me the same jitters. It's like he is known to muff them too and make mistakes like he did there, but then he had a 20-yard return. I think anyone in the return game is going to be like holding my breath and basically stopping my heart for a good 3 seconds until that play is over. But one of the players of the day too was Tommy Townsend. It is crazy to see how much his game has improved within 1 year. He had 2 magnificent punts, basically flipping the field. Like, I remember last year, we were not even thinking he would be on the team with how consistent his punts are. This offseason, you could tell he perfected his craft, and he looks very, very good this year. And he is a weapon, too, to have, because I remember a lot of us were saying, we should have just stuck with Colquitt. I know he's getting older, but Colquitt was the solidified centerpiece in the punting room. But now Tommy Townsend has proven, I'm here, and I'm here to stay. So it's really cool to see him basically doing his thing. Chiefs Kingdom, I just want to say, don't get too beat up over a Week 6 loss. It is what it is. You ain't going to win that. You ain't going to win them all, and you're not going to lose them all. This team is going to win more than they lose, and they're going to be right back in the thick of things in the playoffs, probably against this team again. I see a lot of y'all down, and I understand because I'm the same way too after a loss, but don't be bashing your team like this is the end of the world. This is supposed to be everyone's Super Bowl favored champions going into this year, and the Kansas City Chiefs went toe-to-toe and held their own, and it just so happened it didn't go our way. Unlike last year, it didn't go our way, but we got blown out and it was never a game. We showed even with a lot of missing pieces, we still got a chance to contend, and next week is going to be a very, very interesting game against San Francisco 49ers. I know they had a letdown against the Falcons. I'll have to look at that, and I will get more into that too. That might just be matchups and scheme-wise, and I believe the Niners will bounce back as well because they're a very good team. And like I said, if Kansas City is going to struggle against the run, it might be a long day for them. So we'll have to see how that is moving forward. And you know I will keep you in tune with that. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to close this out. You already know what to do. Go in the comments. Let's discuss this game. Let me know how you're feeling after this unfortunate loss against the Buffalo Bills, 24-20. With that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and give me that big thumbs up and like this video. Y'all take care.